italiano já? Não, bom.
Não, desculpa, não. Se o pessoal sabe que tem essa orientação.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for your patience. I know that we have been running late. We're going to try to get back on schedule. But first of all, thank you for welcoming me back here at the plenary on the second day of our forum. And we thank you for your continuous energy as we keep important discussions alive and exchange of good practices amongst each other. Actually, this moment is specifically dedicated for this, since we'll hear from representatives of the regional groups on how far they have advanced. Before we will officially start, I would just like to go over our agenda for today. Can I have the agenda up, please? In just a moment. Well, until we have the agenda, I'll just go over it for a little bit. So the day will be divided into several sessions ranging from the municipal actions led by Rio City Hall on health, safe and sustainable food, working with indicators for climate on resilient and sustainable food systems with the Milan Pact representatives, FAO and HUAF, and others such as public policies of food security and health, a vision from Fiocruz. This is just to cite a few. You can see the agenda above that will have many fruitful discussions. Now, please join me in welcoming the head of the Milan Pact Secretariat, Filippo Gavazzeni, who will do an overview of what has happened since the last meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Teresa. Thank you so much, and also thank you for your patience. I'll try to do it as short as possible. It's my pleasure to welcoming you to the State of the Pact plenary session, and it's a recurrent occasion because we had last time in Barcelona during the 7th Global Forum this moment, which is particularly important for our community because we can give you a picture of our network, of what our cities are doing and what do we want to go and what we want to achieve. So my presentation will be divided in 4 pillars. The first one is membership, then knowledge, our meetings, so our global and regional forums, and then our governance. My presentation will be followed by a roundtable dedicated to the regionalization strategy of the steering committee members. Afterwards, a section of the last session of this plenary will be dedicated to the Barcelona Challenge for Good Food and Climate. As many of you recall, during the closing plenary of the last Global Forum, together with the city of Barcelona and la Red de Municipios por la Agroecología, we launched the Barcelona Challenge, which has pushed many signatory cities to undertake food policies to tackle the climate emergency. It is an important piece of our work, of our community, and we want to update you about the challenge 1 year after its launch. So let me start with our membership. So we have now 250 signatory cities. Without doubt, this is a huge milestone for our community. Means that 250 mayors committed themselves to the objectives of the Milan Pact. This year, we welcome 46 new cities in our community, and tomorrow, during the signing ceremony, we will acknowledge all cities that signed the Pact in 2022 in order to give them a proper welcome in our community. One of the Pact objectives is to have a balanced representation among regions and countries. Indeed, we strongly believe that each territory, each region can contribute to our network, bringing their own point of view, expertise, priorities, and challenges. This year, we have signing cities from new countries, which are the Philippines, Ireland, Malaysia, Sierra Leone, and Venezuela. We have now cities in 78 countries. In regard with the regions, we have Europe, that is the highest represented one. And however, the most significant result in terms of membership increasement is Asia, Pacific, and Eurasia. This region saw an increase of 12 and 15 new cities respectively, counting now 30 and 31 new cities. To conclude on the membership, we have two key points to highlight. To date, 450 million citizens, inhabitants, can count on cross-pollination among policymakers from all over the world. 250 cities is a significant figure. The second point is that, and this is quite important, behind this number, 250, there are committed cities. They are not just points in the map. Every year, we review the engagement rate of signatory cities in order to identify inactive ones and to understand how and if we are able to renew their participation in the network. Overall, the increase in the engagement of cities is crystal clear. We can easily understand this also through the participation of the Milan Pact Awards. This year, we had more practice submitted to the awards than signatory cities in the Pact, which is a very important figure. This point is strictly related to the second pillar, which is surprise. No, I moved to, okay. Wow. Okay, which is knowledge. This is the state of our knowledge. Yesterday, we had the idea, everyone, about the tremendous tool that we have to enhance knowledge transfer among cities, that is the Milan Pact Awards. This edition, we collected 251 practices, enriching our library of knowledge with now more than 620 practices. This is our shared library of knowledge. This knowledge, this piece of knowledge, has been reviewed and processed by the evaluation committee, and more work on that will be done in the future. Once we will be back in Milan, after some days of holidays, we will produce a comprehensive report on the awards, and this, I think, this tool will be very helpful for our signatory cities. We have 6 winners, 18 special mention, and we definitely start from here to transfer innovation within our community. However, all signatory cities will be asked to contribute with their expertise. The quality of the practice collected is very high. You have developed, implemented many disruptive actions that we can surely definitely share with within the fellowship program. So, as the Vice Mayor announced yesterday, the fellowship program is a new activity and will be definitely a priority for the Milan Pact Secretariat. This will be one out of the 2 priorities for the next year. It will be a framework devoted to capacity building on food policy, thanks to the knowledge that we have acquired through the award. We will launch the fellowship program and present it during the Milan Pact retreat with the winning cities next March in Milan. But we won't do this alone, the fellowship program. This program will be shaped and developed thanks to the support of our partners that will help us in this. We will begin to develop synergies and agreements with the partners that were involved in the evaluation committee of the Milan Pact Awards. Starting, for example, from the Italian Agencies for Development Cooperation, which has been part of the evaluation committee, but most importantly, with whom the Milan Pact Secretariat has recently signed a fundamental agreement. This will enable us to develop significant synergies among our signatory cities. The agency will support us and co-finance some of the activities in the fellowship program. We have today the pleasure to have here with us Mr. Luca Maestripieri, that is the director of the Italian Agency of Development Cooperation, that I will kindly ask to join me on stage and to talk about this important partnership. Thank you.
It may be yes, now it works. So thank you, Filippo, and thank you to the organizers for having invited me to this very special event. I would like really to thank the municipality of Milan and the secretariat of the Milan Pact, as well as the municipality of Rio for the warm hospitality in this wonderful city. I'm not a representative from local government, so it may be strange that I'm here today, but it's not strange because as Filippo was mentioning, the Italian Agency for Development Cooperation has a mandate who is very connected to the subjects that you are dealing within the Pact. Our agency is the technical body of the Italian cooperation. It was established at the time when the Milan Expo was held. So it was born at the same period of the Milan Pact. And we have our mandate is to run several programs of development cooperation in many countries of the world. And we act through 19 field offices, which are present in almost all continents. Half of our offices are in Africa, but we are present in Latin America, in the Middle East, in Asia, and we have an office also in Europe, in the Balkans. I've seen that in the screen always mention the word partnership. And partnership, as you may know, is one of the 5 major components of Agenda 2030, which is our Bible in the cooperation world. And partnership is essential. That's why a network like the one you created with the Pact is essential, because I think that cities and local governments, which are more closely connected to people, are essential partner, even for governments, to reach the goals that all of us want to reach when it deals with Agenda 2030. You know, we live in a very difficult world at the moment. And even if we take the goals of the Agenda 2030, they are very extensive, they are broad, they would request enormous amount of money, of energy. But since the adoption of Agenda 2030, we had terrible unexpected events. We had the pandemic. That was an event that blocked a lot of our activities around the world. And now we have this terrible crisis in Ukraine, which has its own peculiarity and complexity and terrible things to discuss, but also enormous consequences also in all over the world. If you consider energy prices, food prices when it comes to food. So we really live in a complex world, and really we need to come together to reinstate the fact that Agenda 2030 goals are essential in our action. So coming to the issues of food security, I would say that the relations that we try to establish with you, with the Pact, with the cities that are here represented, is essential for us, because in pursuing the objectives that you are trying to pursue with all your activity, we try to develop a sustainable food system that are inclusive, resilient, and diverse, that provide healthy and affordable food to all people, minimizing waste, preserving biodiversity, mitigating impacts of climate change. These are all elements that come in many of the SDGs of Agenda 2030, and we want to support cities wishing to develop more sustainable urban food systems. We want to foster city-to-city cooperation and provide best practices that can help all of us to reach the goals that we want to reach. So AIX recognizes the exceptional experience developed by the City of Milan and the competences matured by the Milan Pact Secretariat, as well as the importance to settle a mutual collaboration that could enforce the definition of an urban strategy on food issues. Similarly, the municipality of Milan have recognized in us, in the agency, and partner with its field offices around the world, technical competencies in international relations to be able to consolidate the Pact and contributing to its future developments. That's why this year we signed this agreement establishing common relations and common objectives. And I hope that this is just the start of something that can be increased in the next year to come. So I've seen that you have reached a number of signatory cities that are quite relevant, 250, you mentioned in 76 countries. Now, out of these cities, some of them are present in the countries where we operate. And so I think our role is to establish connections with the cities through our field offices in order to see how we can foster our mutual cooperation with them. We know that we are already there, that we have links with the local governments, with national authorities, and we have plenty of programs that have been run by our offices directly or through other subjects which are our partner in these countries. But with local governments, I think we have a big role to play. So I think we welcome this cooperation, this mutual wedding that we want to establish with you. And we are present here with our representative for the rural development and food security. You met already yesterday. He was present here on the stage when the award was given to the cities that won the awards this year. He will be present tomorrow. We will have a meeting specifically dedicated to the activity that we conducted this year in participating in this committee for the evaluation of practices. In general terms, we found this year of participation very important for us. We saw very lively proposals, very interesting ideas that came from you, from all the partners that are present in this year of activity. So I will just conclude by saying that I wish all of you the best of your activity in this framework, which is essential for us, and I take the engagement of strengthen relations with all of you, not only with the Secretariat, but with the cities that are here represented, in order to reach the tremendous goal that we have in front of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Director Maestro Pieri. It's an honor to have you here in this global forum. This was important because you could have seen, let's say, our community of committed cities, of committed officers and mayors. So thank you also for the contribution on behalf of the entire community. I would like now to move to another organization, another partner with whom we hope soon to create a partnership, which is the Committee on World Food Security. Unfortunately, they couldn't be here today with us, but we are happy to share a video message from Ambassador Gabriel Ferrero de Loma Osorio, who is the chairperson of the CFS. Mr. Ferrero will briefly introduce the important work of the CFS. I think all of you are familiar with the committee, and explain how our partnership can further assist and guide the work of cities in food system transformation. Can I ask the director to show the video?
Honorable Majors, Excellencies, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I am delighted to address you today as the chairperson of the UN Committee on World Food Security. Hunger and malnutrition in all its forms are major challenges that all countries and people are facing. The interlinked shocks of the COVID-19 pandemic, climate change, and of conflicts, including the war in Ukraine, are worsening an already dire situation. As a result, people's right to food is in jeopardy, and we are not on track to achieving the 2030 development goals, including SDG 2 on zero hunger. Addressing these challenges calls for a transformation of our food systems to one that is sustainable and that delivers food security, adequate nutrition, and healthy diets for all people, while providing decent jobs and incomes to family farmers, food producers, workers, and rural prosperity in our territories. A food system that is carbon neutral, reverses biodiversity loss, and restores landscapes and ecosystems. This will require policies, programs, and interventions that take into account all relevant actors and sectors. I commend the work of the Milano Urban Food Policy Pact and of the cities it represents. In line with the 2030 Agenda and the new urban agenda, you helped to deconstruct the rural-urban dichotomy. You reframed the policy environment around a more holistic and integrated approach. A lot more still needs to be done. The UN Committee on World Food Security stands ready to support you. The CFS serves as the global food governance body of the United Nations, hosted in FAO, where 137 member states of the UN, including most of your countries, are joined by civil society, private sector, research and academia, UN agencies and programs, international financial institutions, foundations, and others to deliberate upon and drive agreement on global policies that address systemic and structural causes of hunger and malnutrition in support of the efforts led by countries, national, regional, and local governments. Over the years, the CFS has negotiated and agreed upon policies that can guide cities and urban leaders as well as rural territories to design programs, policies, and investments for sustainable food systems. For example, the CFS voluntary guidelines on food systems and nutrition that were adopted in 2021 urge governments to integrate urban and peri-urban agriculture into national and local food systems and nutrition strategies. At the CFS plenary held last week, our members requested the high-level panel of experts on food security and nutrition, the scientific arm of the CFS, to produce a report in 2024 on strengthening urban and peri-urban food systems in the context of urbanization and rural transformation. This report will inform and shape policy agreement at the CFS, resulting in policy guidance for your use. I'm happy to offer you the CFS platform and its support and its partnership. It is time for the committee and the Pact, together with cities, work together for a food secure, nutritious, and prosperous society. I thank you.
So we thank you, the CFS, for their commitment in supporting the Milan Pact community. And As a last point of this pillar, I would like to mention an important process, another important process that is coming up. So, as you know, we are celebrating this year 7 years of our community. The community is growing year after year, and it has become familiar and aware of the 37 recommended action of the Milan Pact. The text, however, has been developed in 2014, and we are aware that, well, as Mr. Mastropieri just said, our current food system is changing continuously, and together with it, the challenges and the needs that we are facing. This is why we will soon design a process of review of the text of the Pact that will be a fundamental pillar to celebrate our 10th-year anniversary. We will start this process from your inputs, from the input of our signatory cities through the practice collected, and from the input of our partners. Moving to the third pillar, it's the state of our meeting, the state of our global and regional forum. This is the 8th time that we gather at a global level, and for the first time, again, it's worth mentioning that we are meeting really outside Europe, enriching the event and the entire network by providing new perspective and insights from the South American continent. We have here represented 600 participants from around 100 cities, more than 30 speakers that are enriching us, and around 20 sessions. I take the opportunity to thank from the deepest of my heart the city of Rio de Janeiro for the incredible work that has been doing in the last year together with us. So I will not call them one by one because otherwise I will miss someone. So thank you so much to the city of Rio de Janeiro for the great, I see some of them here, for organizing this amazing event. I think it's, an applause is needed. About our regional fora. So we have, as you are aware, we have regional events. In 2022, we celebrated regional fora last June in Almere, together with Eurocities, during the Floriade exhibition 2022. Then, last August, the first ever regional forum in Asia Pacific, hosted by the beautiful city of Bandung, in the framework of the G20. I'm sorry. I'm coming because it's the last one coming. So it was important because we had the possibility to bring the main priorities and concerns emerging from the forum to the G20 leaders, providing a city's perspective to food system transformation in the G20 discussion. I hope we can continue this work with the G20 and could become an annual occasion to make advocacy action towards the G20. Finally, we had also yesterday a very important moment of this pillar, I would say, of this global forum, which was the regional forum of South America that has been organized by our steering committee member of Belo Horizonte and Rosario. I'm sure colleagues will let you know about this in the round table. So, as a clear commitment that we have for the next months is, as I mentioned, the fellowship program, and the second pillar of our work, together with the steering committee, the organization of regional fora. We hope we can, just like one region is missing, but we are working on that. We hope soon we can have also the first regional forum in North and Central America, and to continue to work with other cities that are interested in hosting regional fora in the next months. So, speaking about our steering committee, this is the last pillar of the state of the Pact. It's our governance. The steering committee is the governing body of the Milan Pact and has the duty to represent signatory cities at the global level. It is composed by 13 members, 2 per each region, plus the city of Milan that is a permanent chair. The steering committee defines the strategy through the leadership plan that that we have discussed and developed in Barcelona during the last Global Forum, and we are implementing it. Before leaving the floor to the steering committee representative that will update us on the state of their region, I will mention that in 2023 we will hold elections for the new steering committee. So be prepared to put forward your candidature and to cast your vote in the next month. So I will now leave the floor to the round table of our steering committee, and I kindly ask to invite them on stage. So please, from Africa, I invite on stage Valentin Bairi, that is a Planification Technical Advisor of the Mayor on behalf of the city of Ouagadougou and Antananarivo. Please join us on stage. Then we have for Asia Pacific, Mr. Gingin Ginanjar, head of the Food Security and Agriculture Department of the city of Bandung, also representing Seoul. Then we have for Eurasia and Southwest Asia, Eitan Ben-Ami, Director of the Environmental Development on behalf of the city of Tel Aviv and Kazan. Then, please join me, colleagues, join me on stage. Then we have for Europe, Andrea Magarini, Director of the Food Policy on behalf of the city of Milan, Birmingham, and Barcelona. And then for North and Central America, Lata Swami, Director of Food System Policy on behalf of the city of New Haven and Merida. And finally, from South America, Maria Cantore, Director of the International Relations Department of the city of Rosario. So can we, okay, perfect. So let's start with a great round of applause with our steering committee representatives. We celebrated today also a steering committee early this morning, a steering committee meetings to set the goal and the next activities. So we are very happy to keep this great work that we have been doing. And I would like to start with Asia Pacific, with Pact Gin Ginanjar, that has tremendous things to share with you. They have organized a beautiful regional forum from Asia Pacific, and I kindly ask the director, once while Mr. Gingin is speaking, to show a video of the regional forum. Silakan, Pak Gingin.
Thank you, Filippo. Good morning, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. I am happy to be attending this global forum and bringing you the update from Asia Pacific. Our region is increasingly dynamic in the Milan Pact. I am proud to say that we have achieved together with the city of Seoul, South of Korea, the objective set out in the leadership plan. First of all, the city of Bandung hosts the first ever regional forum last August. We convened signatory cities together with our regional partner under the term improving city food security and creating food through urban farming based on culture and technology. We organized this forum with the MUFPP Secretariat and with the support of many partners such as Catholic Parahyangan University, the RURC program of the EU Commission, also in Ricolto. We had 300 participants, 20 speakers, and one full day of field visit to discover the Bandung Urban Farming Project, Seburuan Sai. What is more, this regional forum was also a side event of the G20 Indonesia. This is very important because they had the possibility to advocate the G20 leaders through dedicated recommendation on the role of cities in transforming the food system. To conclude on this point, I can say that organization of the regional forum as stated in the following program has been fully achieved. Moving the membership in 2022, we welcome 12 new cities, out of which 6 signed during the regional forum. The Philippines and Malaysia are now represented in our community. For 2023, we will work hard to bring cities from countries still not represented, such as Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia. Moving on to the knowledge exchange, we together with Catholic Parahyangan University and Ricolto, which is available for signatory cities. Our region contributed to the Milan Pact Award with 18 practices, 17 was our target. This is very important because we can build from this knowledge for implementing the policy program in our region. Let me add that Bandung will be happy to contribute to it also with the urban farming program that won yesterday a special mention. To close on knowledge transfer, the cities in our region have been enriched along 2022 by the Asia Pacific Food Policy Training organized by the MUFPP Secretariat and the RURC program. Hundreds of officers took place to the training that will end in December. I take the opportunity to tell you that Seoul is organizing on 2nd of November 2022 the Seoul International Food Policy Conference under the title Sustainable and Just Urban Food System in Response to the Global Food Crisis. I invite you to attend this important moment of exchange for our region. We will work to keep the momentum and organize in 2023 another region forum in the region. Thank you for your attention.
Makasih Pak untuk pidato Anda. Thank you so much. So let's now move to Africa with Mr. Valentin, who can briefly tell us about the achievement of the African continent. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Filippo. Et merci à la
Thank you. And in the city of Milan, the Pact is here in these territories, and we can see from Africa the Forum of Ouagadougou in 2021. It was the first post-COVID forum that was actually seen online by many of our members. What we can say is to assess all the commitments taken on in Ouagadougou, The African region has many partners in the Pact, and the objectives is to prepare new projects for 2022. Our objectives haven't been reached yet, but we will. And the city of Freetown is the new project for 2022, and there are 4 practices for Millennium Practices that was presented for the African region. We had 25 to be able to run in 2022. This was achieved, an extraordinary starting point for all the region, and we would like to begin this exchange, this transfer among African cities. Once we are very happy that a city in our region was the Addis Ababa, city of Addis Ababa, in one of the categories, and this encourages other cities to do better for years to come, in the years to come. Our objective to have 2 webinars was not fully achieved. We only organized 1 webinar with the Eco-Lancet committee, and the idea is to organize with the Pact a new webinar very soon. And another issue has to do with the planning and organization of the new forum. We had to organize a new forum, but the candidates were not fully disseminated, in short. But those that we contact were not very favorable, but we would like to launch a new call so cities can become candidates. The funding is a problem, and cities have decreasing resources. Post-COVID, we have to support them so that we can organize this wonderful meeting in 2023. One of these commitments have to be achieved. The idea is to organize 2 thematic webinars in the context of urban planning and urban agriculture. The land issue is of the answers for urban agriculture. And the second theme is the creation of a territorial food plan in these African cities, because they do not have this policy of food governance. So it's important to correct this. The planning of a new forum, a proposal, and we are requesting an official candidate together with the Secretariat of the Pact to have new candidates. And it is in this level that we can also say we're prospecting, and we commit ourselves to have 2 main cities per year. This idea is to compensate the delay so that we can find ourselves within the standards that we established for. And we also plan on convening African cities to better structure our requests vis-à-vis the cities and how to develop their potential in urban agriculture. We want to produce a document about African cities in order to celebrate the Pact's 10th anniversary. This document is going to be part of our practices to find the African solutions, and also include or a call for the participation of other African cities. And we will work with CGOA, the association, and local authorities in Africa in order to precisely be part and create a communication plan for the African continent. And we'd also like to request all the actors or players that have territorial plans in order to harmonize the public and agricultural policies in the urban setting. I am very pleased to be here, and I'd like to thank the director of the Italian, Mr. Luca. I would really like to wish him wonderful celebrations. I think it's a great opportunity for the cities, because we at Ouagadougou, we benefited a lot. We got 2 fundings from the Italian cooperation, and we launched a new program 2 months ago with Accra, where we were able to achieve 3 million euros because as a result of our cooperation with the Italian Forum. And I hope that access to the Pact that allowed us to get this funding with the European Union and other players, and the mayor of Bamako was talking about this. We've already moved on from the raising awareness stage. We have to now move into action, and we need new directives so that cities can develop their territorial plans and develop actions, because to just have one action here and another one there, we have to have a strategic document that can bring all these initiatives together so that they can follow the components that we are developing here. So with that, that is how we can have interesting, attractive policies that may really lead to sustainability for the African continent. Thank you very much.
Your contribution in bringing the updates from Africa. I would like now to give the floor for the updates from Eurasia and Southwest Asia to Eitan Ben-Ami, that is the Director of the Environmental Department of the City of Tel Aviv. Please.
Thank you very much. The Eurasian region has 31 signatory cities, and the goal for 22 was to add 3 more cities, and the goal was reached. That in April 22, 11 cities from India were joined the Pact, and that's enriched the membership in our region. 31 practices have submitted to the region. The goal was 10, and we meet that goal as well. We're proud that one of our signatory cities also won one of the awards here from India. We had problem in our region because 2 of the most active cities together with us in Tel Aviv were Kazan and Moscow. And we were on the bridge to start to arrange a regional meeting, but unfortunately they ate Ukraine, and so we stopped it. And we hope that peace will come and we can renew the efforts to do it. Beside that, I think that the goal for 23 in Asia, if you can see at the map that Filippo showed before, there are not that many cities from Asia, and we have to increase the number of it in order to have a regional meeting and to talk about things that matter in that area in territory. We plan for 23 first to strengthen the Israeli cities, some Israeli cities that joined the Pact not long ago, and to have them be more active in the activities, and to hold the webinars and hopefully with more cities in Asia. And because we didn't have partner, we did a lot in our own city, and we tripled the budget that was for the Pact and the activities. So we kept ourselves busy without partners, unfortunately.
Thank you, Eitan, for your update. I would like now to move to Europe with Andrea Magarini, who is the Director of the Policy of Milan, on behalf of Birmingham and Barcelona as well.
Thank you. Few words about Europe. So we have 3 goals in Europe that are sharing knowledge, advocacy towards European Commission, and joint European project. And on all of these 3 activities, in the last year, we have organized efforts. On sharing knowledge, we convene all the European cities in Almere during Floriade 2022. That is an international exhibition, and through workshop, training, and activities, we try to share our best practices among European cities, plus the sharing knowledge among 5 European projects that are now active in Europe on the topic of food policy. So we try to have this double level of integration. We also convene some cities, not as a big event, but try to be selective based on their practices in Turin, last month during Slow Food Terra Madre. And also there was great to try to connect each other and to share knowledge. We also work online by organizing webinar together with some partners on food waste, together with European Commission, on the wholesale market, together with the Wholesale Union World Association. I don't remember all the time the exact organizing, but maybe
you can choose the word.
World Association of
the World Union of Wholesale Markets.
Exactly. I never able to remember. Together with the city of Madrid, of Paris, of Rome, to try to share what they are doing, also achieving the food policy goals. And it's very important because we start a first meeting with them in Barcelona during the last Global Forum, engaging the CEO of the wholesale of Beijing, Buenos Aires, Milan, Barcelona, and Paris. And now we are trying to also to have this kind of relation between the cities and between the wholesales. And this is about sharing knowledge. On European projects, now are active 5 European projects that are referring to the Milan Pact and referring to urban food policies, and it's very important. Are 52 the European cities that are part of these 5 consortium, together with researchers, and so we are trying to work together between policymakers, researchers, and the other stakeholders to try to work together on the topic of innovation in urban food system. And the half of all the budgets, that are about 48 million euros, are concretely in the budget of a municipalities to try to exploit and also to allocate budgeting on food policies. The last part, the last goals, is about joint European activity, joint advocacy activity towards the European legislative framework is the most complicated one, as you can imagine, because there are different streams of work and are very complicated to serve among all of the different activities. But fortunately, we have a big partnership with Eurocities, that with the coordinator of a working group, food, is trying to be part of all the debate and so on, and also with the city of Copenhagen, that is all the time inviting on the topic of procurement. In the second half of next year, the European Commission seems to be launch a big framework initiatives that is shaped in these months. Some of us are part of this debate, and we want to engage all of the European cities to be more active on these activities. So we want to impact concretely the next legislation on public procurement and maybe also on food system and food policy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andrea. Let's now move to North and Central America with Lata Swami, who is the director of the food system, on behalf of the city of New Haven and Merida. Please, Lata.
Yes, hi everyone, thank you. First, I want to thank my colleagues in Merida. We have been working a bit more closely in the past year, especially the last months, and it's been very wonderful, and I look forward to further collaboration to reach our regional goals. And also to all of our colleagues who joined the session yesterday. We had a engaging, less formal, more casual, conversational session, because as you may have noticed, North and Central America has a bit more lower engagement than many of the other regions. And so in order to work toward meeting our regional goals that we determined previously, first we need to address why the low engagement and think about the barriers there. So, recognizing that in the sub-regions, say North America, Central America, we have active networks among our cities, but across the entire region, we hope to build better connections. And, truly what we want to do is have closer relationships with each other, better communication, looking to have more spaces to share best practices in between the bigger events that we are also aiming to have. We also really are excited to, not only share the best practices, but commiserate on our challenges. so that we feel some motivation to get through the harder times. So in our session, we did have some interactive components. And first we wanted to understand what signatory cities in our region were most excited about or most proud of in their cities, or whether certain projects are the ones that they have the most resources behind. And in yesterday's session, we found out that those in attendance reported that food waste and governance were the ones that people were most proud of, had the most momentum behind. And on the flip side, for the categories that people felt that they needed more support in were sustainable diets and nutrition and supply and distribution. So we are hoping to use this information to now work toward our goals that we previously defined around gaining additional signatory cities. So now we have 2 additional cities formally, but there are a couple of other cities that are considering signing. And we had a goal of 8 previously, so now we have 6 more to go formally. We have not held a regional forum, as you have already heard, but we hope to be able to hold one in 2023, perhaps in the early quarter, and perhaps, hopefully, in Merida. And we have had a thematic webinar in Central America. Part of the challenge around communication in the region, we haven't had any formal promotion of any food policy projects, but this is something that we hope to overcome by setting up ways to communicate with each other in between bigger events. And as you saw, there were 38 practices that were submitted in the region this year. And lastly, we are aiming to create, or we have started to create a regional subgroup to work with us, the cities of New Haven and Merida, in order to reach our goals. So this does 2 things. It increases engagement and excitement about working in this regional way, but then also moves us toward our goals of organizing a regional forum, webinars, and many of the other more collaborative projects in the region. Thank you.
Thank you, Lata. Thank you so much. And thank you for holding that session yesterday, also with the city of Merida. So let's now move to, our hosting region, that is South America, with Maria Cantore, also representing the city, from the city of Rosario, representing also the city of Belo Horizonte.
Thank you very much. Thank you to the city of Rio de Janeiro, to the city of Milan, to the Secretariat of the Milan Pact, and also for the wonderful work we've done with the city of Belo Horizonte. We are really happy to have this partner with us. I wanted to say a few words of the leadership plan for South America led by our 2 cities, Belo Horizonte and Rosario, in the past year. During the last Global Forum in 2021, we presented the leadership plan for our region with the activities. We participated in the Glasgow Declaration for COP26 and in the launching of the Challenge for Good Food and Climate Barcelona Challenge. This year, we promoted the signing of the Milan Pact by new cities. We are happy to have the following new members: Araraquara and Recife in Brazil, Chone and Puerto Viejo in Ecuador, Esteban Echeverría, Godoy Cruz and Santa Fe in Argentina, and Manizales in Colombia. Thank you very much to these new partners. We have also here some future members, hopefully, so we invite them to think about signing in the next following weeks. We also promoted publications of the report from the Global Forum in Barcelona in other networks and organizations, such as Metropolis, Mercocidades, and CIDEU. We organized webinars with signatory cities to recap on the actions done, foster presentations of projects for the Milan Pact Awards, and boost the participation at this Global Forum. Yesterday, we had the Regional Forum of South America 2022. First, we had experts from the signatory cities to exchange on innovative solutions from the different dimensions of the Pact. For this, we joined with another network, Mercocidades, since our city, Rosario, is Vice President of Social Development and Health in that network, to have more cities aligned with the objectives of the Pact. Thank you for this network as a new ally in this agenda. We also had yesterday in the regional forum a high-level meeting with mayors and authorities from all over South America. We spoke about the challenges to achieve the 2030 agenda and the need for technical and financial cooperation to achieve and improve our public policies. Especially, we looked for a regional agenda to further the transformation of the urban food system with climate justice and participation from a human rights and gender perspective. Also, we had the participation of the Red de Municipios por la Agroecología and FAO Brasil, so thank you very much for that. We are doing a document with the results of the regional forum to be able to use that document for the work in the Milan Pact and in meetings and forums such as COP27. Also, based on the importance of the agenda of the Milan Pact for our region and for our city, and with the objective of furthering the collaboration between our governments to fight food inequalities and improve our mitigation, resilience, and adaptation to climate change, we want to invite you to the next regional forum of South America to be held in our city of Rosario. It will be a pleasure to have you all in our city. Thank you very much. Thank you for all this work, and thank you again, Milan, Rio, and Belo Horizonte.
So we have a very important announcement because, as you have heard, the next regional forum for South America will take place in 2023 in Rosario. So thank you so much for your leadership. Okay, so we have finished this roundtable. Thank you very much to the representative of the steering committee that are here on stage, and also to the one that are on the audience. This is the end of this part of the session. As you are aware, we are really working hard to improve our community with the steering committee members, and we will do even more in the months to come. So thank you so much, and I now leave the floor to Cécile Michel, the colleagues of the Milan Pact Secretariat, that will introduce the session on the Barcelona Challenge for Good Food and Climate 1 year after. Thank you so much. Also with other representatives of the steering committee, if they are here. Belo Horizonte. Barcelona. Sara is not a city, but it's Birmingham. Sara is coming, okay?
So good morning or good afternoon, everybody. I am delighted to be here today and to open this very important session, which is titled the Barcelona Challenge for Good Food Climate 1 year after. May I ask the producer to put the slides, please? So, with many of you last year, we were in Barcelona, who hosted the very successful MUFPP Global Forum, that was the 7th. And on that occasion, we launched the Barcelona Challenge for Good Food and Climate. The slides will come. As Milan Urban Food Policy Pact, we have been excited since the very beginning to be part of this initiative, and we have been strongly engaged in involving the cities of our steering committee and of our community to engage in this challenge. But the slide is not the right one, but okay. But what it is this challenge about? So it draws from the C40 Good Food Declaration and the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact. The Barcelona Challenge for Good Food and Climate is a call for cities and their residents, their citizens, to engage in a series of commitments related to the transformation of their food system in order to tackle the climate emergency. So the Barcelona Challenge addressed two key issues: the mitigation of and the adaptation to the climate emergency through targeted food climate-related actions to be undertaken by local government. So we have 24 cities from 12 different countries that took up the challenge and decided to focus on those targeted food climate-related actions. Cities have been not alone in this process because the promoters of the challenge have been accompanied by many partners and supporters. Some of them are here with us today. So I am delighted to open this session and to call on stage the main promoters of the Barcelona Challenge. We have Álvaro Porro, Commissioner for Social Economy, Local Development and Food Policy of the Barcelona City Council. Álvaro, please join me on stage. Then we have María Carrascosa, of course, head of the Food and Climate for la Red de Municipios por la Agroecología. And then I will call on stage cities, two examples of cities very much committed to the challenge. So I call Giuliana Matos Magnani, Director for Agroecology Promotion and Procurement of the Belo Horizonte City Council. Thank you. And then Marina Borgatello, Coordinator of the Strategic Program of Food and Nutrition Quality for the Municipality of Rosario. So I am very happy to give you all the floor to know more about the challenge, why it has been launched, where do we stand 1 year after, and what are the main results achieved. So I will start with Álvaro. Why Barcelona decided to launch the Barcelona Challenge?
Okay, hello. Well, my first goal is going to be to wake you up, okay? We are tired. It's been the whole morning very intense, a lot of information. And today is the second day. Probably some of us will still have some jet lag. So first, I want just to get your answers on raising your hands. Who has felt this summer that perception in population about climate change is really changing? Is feeling like something is real in your cities? Who feels that? Okay, I cannot see your hands. Wake up. Okay. Again, who is feeling after this summer evolution of the weather and the different climate events, extreme climate events? Who has the feeling that something is going on among population in terms of perception, that this is for real? This is not just something from the UN. Who is having this feeling this summer, like something is going on? And who is having people around them in the daily life? I'm talking about your aunt, your neighbor, your, I don't know, the people who sell you the bread or something, who that they are starting to think, maybe I have to do something about this. And related to climate change, in personal terms, I mean, who is having the feeling that this is starting to happen? Okay, so I see hands and say you wake up. Who is an officer for food policy in your municipality? any kind of role. Okay, sounds normal, no? That we have this kind of people here. Have you ever feel when you want to talk about food and climate change, when you talk to you go and try to talk to other departments in the municipality, that they don't really pay so much attention? Like it's not so kind of, it's not like about cars, it's not about like energy production, it's about food and climate. So have you ever felt when you have been trying to talk to other departments, like they don't make the link so much between food and climate? Have you ever felt that? Okay. So then, so all the people that raise your hands, we are in the same boat. You have to join the boat of the Barcelona Challenge. So that's the way I want to explain why the Barcelona Challenge. I will, for me, the Barcelona Challenge is a tool, it's a leverage, and works in 3 dimensions. One will be more like conceptual, let's say, but climate change should be at the center of food policies. And the Barcelona Challenge is helping us in that sense. And the other way around. Food system should be at the center of climate change policies in our municipalities. So Barcelona Challenge has to help in both ways for that. Put the climate change into the center of food policies and the other way around. So the other dimension of the why will be international dimension. I think Barcelona Challenge, of course, in the frame of the Milan Pact and other wider frames, has to help us to make more visible the voices of cities. We cities are in a lot of topics in the front line of progressive proposals, and we need to take advantage of that role and raise our voice. And Barcelona Challenge, at least in the topic of food system and climate change, has to help in that way. The idea is that we don't have to go so much on our own, that we could, because I've seen during these days a lot of amazing policies from projects from your cities, which has a very interesting impact in terms of reduction of carbon footprint. But I think we could try to somehow make them more visible in a way that is kind of leading and dragging the whole international perspective on that. So it's a way to kind of amplify the international impact of the cities in that topic. And the third dimension will be local, very much local. And at the end of the day, we all need having concrete outcomes. If we make the effort to join whatever, and we are all very busy in our daily life in our municipalities, always probably more work than we can afford with the teams we have, with the budgets we have, with the people we have. But we need to have elements that help us to kind of make it bigger and being more ambitious. So in the local level, the dimension will be, for me, the Barcelona Challenge is like a leverage that helps me in three ways to promote food policies. One will be, helps me to link our local actions, our local level actions related to climate change and food policies to the international level. And I don't know in your case, but in my case, that helps me to convince other departments, to convince other politicians, to talk to the opposition groups, because I'm not just doing on my own thing in Barcelona, I'm doing it linked to a wider international frame. Second one, in the local level, another positive outcome is that the approach of Barcelona Challenge is very much communicative friendly. So we have tried to think in a way that is going to be useful when you go to talk to the communication department, to the press department, and you can explain them what it's about. You can explain something that is concrete. It's about numbers, about impacts, about something you can understand, and of course, it's going to be easier to communicate, and it's going to help us to communicate not just the Barcelona Challenge, because at the end, the Barcelona Challenge is nothing. It's whatever you are doing in your city. And the third element that I think is a positive outcome for the local level is impact-orientated. And we need to do that for anything that we do related to climate change. We need to do impact-orientated. I mean, we've been 25, 30 years talking about the climate change, and now it's about creating impact. So Barcelona Challenge tries to put the focus, although cities, we've been now working so long in food policies and climate change, it's kind of new in a way, but we are, since the very beginning, focused on impact, numbers, how we're gonna create an impact. So one of the big elements of the Barcelona Challenge is this focus on the impact and being very concrete on that. And at the end of the day, and that's why I make these questions at the beginning, as officers or as politicians that we were working on food policy and climate change, we need to feel that the Barcelona Challenge is helping us and is somehow helping me to convince my other partners in the government that makes sense to support this project, to save some budget for this other project, to make this change in our procurement or whatever we need. And if I'm an officer, not a politician, I'm going to be more able to convince the politician about it, to convince other departments that we need them to help, to get involved. If it's not helping in that way, then I would say, forget about the Barcelona Challenge and and look for something else. But that's, for me, the main why we are doing this. Very practical, I would say.
Thank you, Álvaro. Okay, I am going to share with you some of the data of the overall proposal of the 24 cities from 12 countries committed to the challenge. All this data that I am going to share with you is in this report that we are publishing today, that it's called the Barcelona Challenge 1 Year After Report. And all this data is there, and also you will find 15 innovative good practices that cities committed to the challenge are developing. Okay, so regarding the actions that those cities are committing to develop in the time frame 2021-2030, so almost 70% of the cities committed to the challenge are developing actions in all the categories of the MUFPP framework for action. In total, they are developing like kind of 34 action lines, let's say. The majority of them, as you can see, belong to the governance category, and food waste, then food waste and food production, then sustainable diets and nutrition, and lastly, food supply and distribution, and social and economic equity. You know that I know all the categories because I have been working on these, that's the reason, right? But within that, which are the priorities of these actions that cities are developing? So 2 of them. The first one is planning and building physical and social infrastructures to create these fair, healthy, and sustainable food systems. And the second one is creating tools to promote citizen participation and cooperation between municipal departments. So what Álvaro wants to reach, and you want to reach also. On the other hand, there is a clear lack of actions developing regulatory frameworks in food waste at the municipal level, and in supporting reduction and reuse of packaging and creation and use of sustainable alternatives to plastic. There is a lack on that. Okay, so here you can see the quantitative targets of the policies committed within the Barcelona Challenge. And as you can see in the graphic, the main one is related to the number of residents consuming food regionally and locally produced, with almost 31% of the total population of the 24 cities. That means more than 36 million inhabitants. The second one, the second position, is the promotion of the assumption of a planetary health diet, which with the 23% of the residents of those 36 million. Then to adjust the food intake and the assumption of food waste reduction option with the 22%. And finally, there is a name of the cities to help 10% of residents to shift to organic or agroecological diets, and 9.7% to organic food, but also regionally and locally produced. I would like to highlight also that these 24 cities intend to convert to organic farming schemes almost 2 million hectares in their city regions. This is a high surface that represents 82% of the certified organic cropland in Spain, which ranks the first in Europe and the third in the world. So that's why we think it's a high data, a high proposal. And regarding the promotion of new municipal non-sedentary and farmer markets, the overall proposal of the cities is to reach 4,000 markets in 2030. Next one, please. So that's the last one. Here you can see the expected annual projected benefits of this overall proposal. And I would like to highlight two data. The first one is the GHG emission reduction. That is more than 1 million tons of CO2 equivalent per year. That means almost 2.5 million cars less. And if we compare the data with the goal established by the European Union in terms of GHG emission reduction by 2030, this data represents almost 47%. So it's not bad, it's not a bad proposal. And the other element that I would like to highlight is related to the yearly prevented deaths. And this joint commitment of the city amounts almost the 60% of the road deaths in the in 2021. So this data shows that this work that we have done together is quite strong, and it could be stronger if cities would be more ambitious, but also if we had a larger number of cities joining the challenge. But now, let's give the floor to the real protagonists of the challenge, which are the cities. So, Juliana, Director of Agroecology Promotion and Procurement of Belo Horizonte, could you share us some lines about your food policies within this framework?
Boa tarde a todos, todas e todes. Eu sou agroecologia e abastecimento na
Good afternoon. I am Juliana in the Municipal Secretariat for Food Safety in Belo Horizonte. I'm going to talk about our food production, but it is a very full and complete policy. It's hard to classify specifically. Next. So, before talking about the results, I'd just like to put into context how this policy came about. A policy that since the 90s has been requested by civil society, so it arose from the population's demand for this. In the 90s, there were some experiences with school, vegetable gardens and orchards, institutions, agroecological coexistence centers. In 2011, there was a law that instituted the municipal law for urban agriculture. And with our government, this policy was enhanced, and we have enormous knowledge in the implementation of community vegetable gardens, a policy that was developed by many people, different government sectors. It is quite intersectorial. There's a secretariat for education, for the environment, urban cleaning superintendency, and different sectors that are engaged in making this policy work. There's civil society and academia that supports us and provides us material so that we can run analysis and reflects upon what? Belo Horizonte has no rural area, a very small city, 25% of the size of the city of Rio de Janeiro, for instance, and it's a city, according to IBGE, that is a very dense population. And Belo Horizonte is very dense. The urban empty areas is just for preservation, environmental preservation. So our policy is to use public areas or zones that are underutilized and also have people who are vulnerable or disinvested, disadvantaged people. We are seeking new small farmers so that we can develop our urban agriculture policy. There is the whole cycle. We train these new farmers, and there are social workers. We help them set up as groups and their workshops. The plantations are based on agroecology. This is an important part of the policy. So everything is agroecological. We work strongly on food sovereignty. So there is the crops of traditional plants that belong to our staple diet. And so we value traditional peoples and the plants that are important for the region, for their religious beliefs. And there are urban forests also. So we are structuring a home of Creole seeds. And we also work on how to market all this. So it is within this context that we submitted the proposal of increasing 5 productive units per year. We began in 2022 with 45 units, and we are already in 50 productive units. We have already implemented these figures, proposed figures, and we're going to advance a little more. We're probably going to achieve another 2 or 3 until the end of the year. Belo Horizonte today has 96 hectares of planted area. Our objective was to go 110 as for 2023, so we've advanced 6 hectares compared to last year. And what's important and interesting in this challenge is to continuously do this assessment and to understand in which points we have to advance. And over 800 people have been trained in agroecology, in culture practices, or how to fight pests, and different training courses, composting. We work in the full cycle of the food product, so that food can be sold or donated, or it goes into composting, and then it comes back as organic compost for these production units. So it is in this sense that we produce the food. Yeah, next, please. And then, with regard to supply and distribution, there is a market, which is just one area of urban agriculture. We're trying to expand this. In this call for bids, we called on all entities involved in order to advance and resolve the difficulties. The logistics in the past 2 years has been an enormous challenge. Fuel almost doubled in price. Vehicles had a significant increase. And so we have talked with all the market producers and farmers and with the associations, SEBRAE and Mater, to precisely try to identify the bottlenecks and have more trading areas. And we are creating maps in order to disseminate and provide the production units more visibility, as well as areas to sell these agroecological products. and it is an action. When we do this agroecological production in the city, our farmers are oftentimes in a situation of a disadvantaged situation. Oftentimes, they would not have enough to support themselves and buy food in supermarkets. And so more people have more access to agroecological products. I'm almost closing. Yeah, so that's it. And this is the experience in Belo Horizonte that we have developed so far, and it has been very interesting. Thank you.
Program of Food and Nutritional Quality of Rosario. The floor is yours.
Hola, ¿se escucha bien? Sí. Bueno, muchísimas gracias por la invitación.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Compartir esta instancia con ustedes, con los que hemos venido trabajando.
We've been working hard in the last period. Rosario has been working in food policies for some time, but we identify with what was said at the beginning. Alvaro said the city and signing the Milan Pact and taking up the challenge, Barcelona challenge, has been an excellent organizational tool in the municipality to be able to cross-cut all the food policies and link them to the climate agenda and organization of the 7 different levels of government in international terms as well, and also to add all the stakeholders together who intervene in the local food system, those who are not part of the public administration, the government administration or municipal administration. Okay, I strongly recommend to cities that they join the Barcelona challenge, and of course those who haven't signed the Milan Pact yet, because the power that you achieve working under these 2 umbrellas is extremely important and great. Actually, we're working already in more than 50 different initiatives or actions in the Milan Pact. We have actions in all the different categories in the 6 that we know. We know them by rote, all of them by memory, and we can list them 1 through 6. And of course, we work with the objective of making a positive change in our food systems, guaranteeing greater resilience and adaptation to climate change. The entire food agenda is a line of work in our local climate action plan. This has been a task that we've embraced internally, and it's very important in that sense. Since we have little time today, I'm just going to comment on 2 different initiatives. The first that has to do with the production of agroecological foods through different programs, the urban agriculture and the green belt programs, which were won award with. See, these are programs that many of you already know about with a long history in local administration. And we want to comment very quickly and retrieve the fact that this talks about reducing food waste in the fruit and vegetable markets. The urban agriculture program works basically on valuing 30 different hectares are in land, public lands as well, which have been degraded for a long time. Some of them have been required remediation in 7 different park gardens with 450 vulnerable families who grow and generating income, real income through by marketing their produce in more than 40 different markets in this city. We also have 3,000 families who produce their own food in family gardens for self-nutrition. And in the coming year, we're going to have the objective of incorporating 2 park gardens to the park garden program in the city. The Green Belt program is that protects 800 hectares that we have in the peri-urban area, plus the urban agriculture. And the urban agriculture program emerged in 2002 with the economic crisis that we had in Argentina in 2002. In 2016, incorporated the management that had to do with the peri-urban area, the protection of these 800 hectares in the peri-urban area, or the green belt, increased production and marketing of agroecological products. Currently now, we are working with 30 different farmers who participate in this project to transform these 800 hectares into 286 for agroecological production. It's a transition that we are carrying out. The target for 2030 is to reconvert 1,300 hectares with 60 different farmers, taking joint action with 10 different municipalities in the greater metropolitan area of Rosario. So we want to work already on a larger scale, on a metropolitan scale, with the municipalities in the greater metropolitan area. So we are working with various different actors in generating local frameworks and regional frameworks for agroecological foods. Yesterday the mayor was talking about this in his presentation. We're working with certification for guaranteeing certifying all of our agroecological farmers in a participatory scheme. The fact is that this ensures that we can generate greater confidence amongst consumers and trust when they purchase and consume agroecological products and produce. So agroecological food production is important for us in Rosario, especially because of the climate agenda, because what is done is transform production areas, positioning them in a sense as providers of environmental services and as areas of the fight against climate change. These areas generate very real benefits in the city, which have to do the reduction in the kilometers that the foods travel, the decrease in the use of fertilizers, improvement of rainwater, reduction in the global warming by increasing the green area in the city, and of course, to improve the quality, the nutrition in the city, employment, and local development. So, with regard to the other program, which has to do with the food waste, which of course is a global problem, which it has also affected us at the local level. The numbers of waste in food are alarming. In Rosario, the large producers dump more than 16 tons of food a day, and waste are 20% of the emissions in the city. So currently, we are also working with the national government in structuring and organizing a strategic plan for avoiding food waste. But nevertheless, for some years in Rosario, we have carried out actions, real actions in terms of reducing food waste to recover these actions. I will tell you briefly how this works. It's a public-private partnership with farmers in this city, where we administer with the municipality and the food bank people in our city. It's a civil society organization in network format, recovering fruits and vegetables which would not be marketed but are still able to be consumed. This initiative also has a specificity which we always like to highlight: the entire process of recovering fruits and vegetables, informal recoverers who have been trained and organized in a cooperative format, and they also are included in a formal system in the framework of this work agreement with collaboration between the municipality, the food bank, and the farmers market. Currently, we have recovered 600 tons of fruits and vegetables, which are distributed across every week amongst 330 civil society organizations. And all of the fruits and vegetables that are not appropriate or not fit for consumption go to our treatment plant, where we have a line for treatment of organic waste become compost. And currently we are on the path for quality certification of the compost to actually be reused in the vegetable gardens that we have in the city. Our next challenge there is clearly to add the other market, Fisherton concentration market, to double the amount of fruits and vegetables that we recover in the city. And of course, not only to fight hunger, but also to decrease the amount of waste that is sent to final disposal in the landfill parks. I go back to the beginning. I'd like to highlight two questions here. One of them is the importance of these spaces, which are essential to learn, to share experiences, and to organize, as I said at the beginning. I also take advantage of the opportunity to thank you for your participation with us, especially when we take up the challenge. And the important thing is to be able to quantify and monitor, as I said also at the beginning, the pact we have in these actions, and to choose strategies where we can produce synergies to generate greater impact. This requires knowledge and building specific acts and being close to the territory, and also align all of the teams that work on these themes and issues, and afterwards also to retrieve and claim a focus on cities. Cities are actors for change, and highlight that all the progress that we've made in food, sustainable food policies have been, whether small or large, they mitigate climate change, which is obviously a local problem, which has a lot of opportunities for management at the local level. So thank you very much. Álvaro, Barcelona.
I don't have it. Okay. I thought I have it. I'm going to explain just two projects of the different projects we have in Barcelona that has a climate change impact in our case, but I don't know the numbers by memory, so I need to use my presentation. So why don't you explain first the connection?
Okay. So just to let you understand better the numbers that I have shared with you, the cities that they have committed to the challenge, they have made an action plan 2021-2030 with all the actions that they were going to develop in this time frame. And then they set up the aspirational quantitative targets of the policies in terms of number of residents that were going to change their diet, number of residents that were going to start consuming organic or agroecological food, number of hectares that they wanted to change to organic farming schemes with all the package of food policies. And with those data and with the toolkit that we generated within the Barcelona Challenge, they knew the projected benefits of those policies in terms of prevented deaths, water saved, increased benefits, of course, GHG emission reduction. So the data that I have presented is the addition of each of the targets and each of the benefits and each of the actions that those 24 cities together they have built.
Okay, thank you. So just explain two very concrete projects, and we look for the end of this session. The first project is, we call it healthy and sustainable school canteens. So as you can imagine, it's related to school canteens, and basically we make a first diagnosis of the situation in Barcelona, and we realize that the increase of childhood obesity is being very, very intense in the last decade. Basically, we have numbers like, for children between 3 and 4 years old, we have 7% of obesity, and it's the same for children between 13 and 19 years old, and that for us, and for our, say, food culture, that was something kind of new, and we didn't have that before. But in children between 8 and 9 years old, it's 13%. And the worst element is that we double that numbers when we are in low-rent neighborhoods. So there is a very important social bias in these numbers. So we start working with school canteens with different objectives. First one was to diminish the level of consumption of red meat and processed meat. Then second one was to increase vegetable protein, increase salads presence, increase fruits and desserts, and increase the presence of local and seasonal products. That was the 5 objectives of our our revision of the school canteens, which don't depend directly from the municipality. I don't know how it's in your cities, but in our cities, only the kindergartens depends directly on the municipality, but all the primary and secondary school depends on their own or in the regional government. So we have to see how we can encourage this change, but we cannot impose it, or it's not something we can just change with a public procurement tender, because it doesn't depend on us. So we've been working in basically revision, making an assessment of the menu and basically changing the menus together with the school community, reviewing the suppliers they have, training cooking staff and training the canteen monitors, raise awareness within the families and students. As you can imagine, sometimes some families are kind of scared when you propose these changes, and they thought they're going to lose some kind of nutrition elements instead of an improvement. And also developing a whole educational plan surrounding sustainable food within the school. So the canteen, what happens in the canteen becomes part of the educational proposal we have. And basically, we've been working on that for 1.5 years. We have already almost 50 schools with an action plan on that sense. And that's provoking a kind of wave within the city that our idea is to arrive to almost 80–90% of the schools in the next months, years, both public and non-public schools. And the other project is the food bag. It's a center situated in the wholesale market of Barcelona, Mercabarna, which is kind of a big one of the main ones in the whole Mediterranean region for fresh food. Basically, with this food bag, we have created a center. We just built it, so it's completely designed for this purpose to minimize the amount of waste food is being thrown away and maximize the circularity of all these products. And the nice thing is that we are not just working municipality with the wholesale market, which is a public company, but also with the social economy organizations and also the wholesale economic actors organizations. Basically, what happens is all the wholesale marketers has to send compulsorily everything that they're not selling to this center. And in this center, there are professional persons that are trained to filter. And we divide it in 5 groups. One is food that can be directly addressed to human consumption, normally through social organizations. Second one is food that could be transformed into, for example, marmalade through social organizations, but for human consumption. Third one will be used for animal consumption. And fourth one will be for high quality compost, like Rosario was explaining. And with all of that, the idea is, and we've been in the first months of activity, but we are tripling the number of tons we are reusing from the wholesale market in the next years. So basically, the food waste in Mercabarna in 2015 it was 0.5%. We in 2020 we are in 0.36%, and we want to arrive to 0.15% in 2025. So that's 2 projects that you can translate into a reduction of carbon footprint in a very direct way, and that really decrease the carbon footprint of the city, at least on some items that depends on the municipality, which of course we are limited, but we at least make a big impact in those things that depends on us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Álvaro. And thank you for you too, for sharing with us all your actions. We have heard actions related to participation of social actors, coordination within the City Council, food waste, participative guarantee systems, public food procurement in healthy food and planetary health diets, and of course, urban agriculture. And I personally was very happy to listen about policy in seeds, which is one of the pillars of the food system that is lacking, from my point of view, in urban food policy. So thanks a lot for doing that, and hope that we will develop this issue of seeds and cultivated biodiversity in urban food policies. And now I give the floor to Cecile.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody. It has been great to listen to all of you and to see how far you and we have gone in this year. In my view, yes, as Alvaro said, the Barcelona Challenge is, yes, a tool, is, yes, a leverage, but it also has the credit to have shed light on the power of cities in addressing the climate emergency through food policy. It is not by chance that this session has been placed within the State of the Pact session. This is because the Barcelona Challenge is an important part of the MUFPP history since last year. It is a milestone of the Pact, and as such, we would like to further enhance it. We just heard in the previous session from Filippo that from now onwards, we will embark into a new journey, the updating of the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact framework for action. And while the Barcelona Challenge will be a fundamental instrument in this crucial and important work. All the data that you have collected, all the wealth of knowledge you have produced, and all the actions that you have tested and implemented into your cities will be integrated in the new framework for action of the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact. So thanks to the Barcelona Challenge, we will have more information, tools, and knowledge for this important work. We are grateful to Maria, to Alvaro, to Amaranta, and the city of Barcelona under the leadership of Mayor Ada Colau, to all the cities that have been engaged in this important initiative, and to the partners for this joint effort that will contribute also to the development of the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact. Now we can also take care about our own food security, so lunch is served outside. Thank you, everybody, and see you in the afternoon.
Okay.